Good day, everyone. I am Maria Cristel A. CREDO.
My name is SALIGO.
And I am Leanne Carmel A. Adobas.
And we are here to report the Lesson 13 about Strategy 5 using research as a teaching strategy. So, what is research? Research is from the French word recherche, meaning to investigate thoroughly. So, research is an investigation of studying a new materials to establish facts and reach new conclusions. So, research is investigate. So, di ba, if we are going to do a research, investigate jud na, mag-investigate ta para natay mahimo nga new conclusion. So, according to Howard and Sharp, 1983, research is seeking to add one's own body of knowledge and hopefully of non-trivial facts. So, the definition of Howard and Sharp conveys the idea that research has two important components according to Killeen. So, there are two components of research. Number one, inquiry that is carried out systematically and purposefully. Number two, inquiry that focuses on revealing some new knowledge. So one would say systematically inquiry is based on system concepts or system principles. So in research, there are very important steps in doing research. First, there must be a clear purpose. So when we are doing a research, dapat na jud tay purpose, na tay goal nga himuon. We must formulate question that maghimo ta og mga pangutana nga matubag. Second, there must be a detailed plan for trying to answer that question so that the research will be systematic. So when we are doing a research, dapat naka-detailed na nito siya, na ni plan na dapat planado na ni so that ang atong research will be systematic. Third, data must be gathered and analyzed. So in doing a research, di ba, ang ikaduha is second, there must be a detailed plan so that the question sa research is matubag. So after that, makagather na tag mga answer, atong i-analyze ang nga nagather. According to Killeen 2009, there are three approaches that are useful for the teachers and students. Based on finding, interpreting, and using information else. So, before we conduct a research, mangita ta og guide para muta sa atong research. Mutan-aw ta sa mga old research books, journals, and other resources nga makatabang nato sa atong research. Second, research based on gathering, interpreting, and using information that did not exist. So, in doing a research, we need to gather data, and after we gathered the data, we need to interpret sa atong mga na-gathered so that we can come up an answer. So, matali na to ang atong mga na-gather nga data and mahibaw ta kung unsa ang result. Number 3, research-based implementation. So, research jud basically it's form of experimentation pud kay magkuan man ta nga unsa kahay probably nga result ani after ta mo gather sa data. So why should research be used as a teaching strategies? Ngano kahang kinahanglan gamiton ang research as a teaching strategies for the teachers? So, first reason is increase student interest and encourage the search for knowledge. So, makatabang ni si Jess sa mga estudyante, makahatag ni si Jag interest sa mga estudyante sa pagskwela o makatabang ni sa mga estudyante sa pag-gain of new more knowledge. At second, play a vital role in student learning. Makahatag jud ni si Ja og dako nga impact sa mga estudyante because kay ang mga estudyante maka-gain man og mga new knowledge in doing a research. So, it develops the intellectual skills of the student. So, di ra maka-gain og knowledge, di ra maka-kuan, maka-learn og mga new things. The other reason is ang mga intellectual skills sa student ma-develop. Like kanang example kung naay estudyante nga ganahan og kanang mga experiment bitaw, like ingana ma-develop ang ijang skills, ma-develop ang ijang kanang interest sa pagbuhat og new things. So, next, it provides a strong foundation for building new knowledge. It is really basically provide a strong foundation kay nga naman maka-gain man good ang mga student og mga new knowledge nga wa pa nila nakuan sa una. Just because in research daghan tang makatunan kay kanang perhay nga nang inig mag-gather tag data, mag-interpret ta, mag-interview ta, kanang challenging si Jaka adjujud kay ma-challenge man ta and a little bit excitement kay ngano kanabang ma-excitement ta nga unsa kahay probably result sa atong gihimo nga research. So another reason nganong kinahanglan ang research nga mahimong teaching strategy sa mga teacher. Research encourages the learners to ask questions, to investigate, to discover, and to create answer for themselves, rather than waiting for someone else to provide the answer for them. It helps them to be more independent learners who believe that they are capable of understanding complex issues and discovering important new knowledge between themselves. Research can challenge, engage, and extend all the learners, not just the more capable learners. So, ang research jud makahatag jud ni si jag challenge nato kay daghan man tang proseso nga himuon para mabuhat nato ang research. Research helps the learners to progress from what they already understand to what they need to understand deliberately, building on their existing knowledge. It encourages them to metacognitive skills. Research can provide a meaningful context for the learners to use and develop their communication skills. It can help the learners develop their reading skills, note-taking skills, writing skills, and oral communication skills, particularly if they are required to discuss their work, present their findings, and propose courses of action based on their research. Research can help the learners develop their organizational and time management skills. So, those are the reasons why research used as a teaching strategy. Student research is not always appropriate in all occasions. So, dili na to ma-apply jud ang research sa bisan unsa nga kuan, sa bisan unsa nga paagi. Kay nga naman, naatay sundon dapat nga mga strategy nga
kung kanus ani nato dapat i-apply ngadto sa mga student sa unsa nga paagi o kanus ani di pwede nga i-apply ngadto sa mga students because nagdepende ni sa kanang nagdepende ni siya sa learning sa student. Kay ang laman-laman ug mo apply ta unja ang student kay wa pay enough knowledge para sa ingana nga butang. Use student research if. So mao ni ang angay natong ma-apply sa mga estudyante sa research as a teaching strategies. The outcomes you want the student to achieve are readily related to issues beyond the classroom. Ikaduha, the learners have sufficiently high prior knowledge to guide their own learning. So if makita na to nga ang estudyante kay kanang nanay knowledge, then makabuhat na siya og kanang self-study and makagain na siya og own learning mismo ra sa iyang kaugalingon, then atong ma-apply ang research as a teaching strategy. Next, the students are self-motivated and can learn with minimal assistance. So, if makita nato nga ang estudyante is self-motivated in learning, then pwede natong i-apply ang research. Next, you want to encourage the student to take a deep approach to learning. You want to encourage the student to learn how to enjoy learning. Then, if makita nato ang estudyante nga, kanang nag-enjoy siya sa iyang pag-learn as a student, then pwede na natong ma-apply ning research as a teaching strategies kay if ang student ma-enjoy siya og mga new learning, then ato jud ning probably i-apply kay in doing a research we can learn so many things. We can learn so many new things rather. Next, you want to encourage the student to be an independent learners. If makita nato nga ang estudyante is independent and he or she can learn in her or in his own way, then i-apply nato ang research as a teaching strategy. The next is you want learning to be driven by the student curiosity. So, next, mauni kaning ahong i-discuss sunod is mauni ang dili ta pwede mo gamit og research ngadto sa mga student if the students lack the basic skills to work independently or in small group. Kung makita nato ang usa ka estudyante is wapay enough skills to work independently himself or herself or even in small group, dili pa siya katigo mo handle, then di sa ta pwede mo apply ingana nga research as a teaching strategies towards them. Next, the students have a very poor literacy skills and the students do not have access to the equipment or information they need to produce worthwhile data from the research. And next, and lastly, you cannot allow the student sufficient time to complete the research test. So if makita nato nga ang student walay enough equipment or information para ma-produce inighimo sa research, then you as a teacher or we as a future educator, we don't need to use the teaching strategies toward those students nga ingana pa ang mga learning. So, though moabot ang panahon nga ma-apply ra na nato nila, atong hinay-hinayon og pasabot para ang mga student makasabot ra sa dugay natong pagtudlo.
How to use research as a teaching strategy. Research is a very much student-centered approach to learning, but it is not something that you should expect your student to do totally independently. So, ang kanilang mga students, they need the guidance from their instructors and teachers in order for them to understand more about research. It will not be sufficient to simply just give the students a research questions and just leave them on their own devices to find the answers. It is not right for a teacher nga mahatag na sila og research questions and just leave the students alone because students need the guidance of the teachers throughout the process of the research. So as a teacher or instructor, you have to plan carefully for each of these things, such as 1. Decide, 2. is to develop, 3. is to identify, and 4. is to plan. So for the decide, the teacher or instructor must decide on what they want the students to learn. Dapat mag-decide ang usa ka teacher kung unsa ilang gusto nga makatunan sa ilang estudyante. And also, they must set an objective on every topic so that they will have a guide on what to teach the students in order for them to have a clear learning outcomes. For the develop, the instructor or teacher must develop a suitable research questions or set of questions nga mahimo silang focus sa students' research activities para pud nga matabangan sila nga ma-achieve ang desired outcomes sa ilang mga activities or sa ilang research. So for the identify, the instructor or teacher must identify on what prior knowledge the students will need or use para makakonduct sila og research. And kung mahimo, dapat itudlo ni silang prior knowledge, and this may involve teaching for research, which develops the students' understanding about the subject, and teaching about research, which develops the understanding of the students on how to do research or on how to conduct a research. So for the plan, in this step, you will going to plan on how you will monitor the progress of the students. And this will involve mga exercises, activities related to research, wherein makatabang nila para makakuha sila og mga strategies nga magamit nila sa ilang research. And kaning step also is important for the teacher para mahibaw-an nila kung nakakatun ba ang estudyante sa lesson or wala. It is also important to prepare the students for the research, and these are the following guidelines which we can consider. 1 is to explain, 2 is to spell out, and 3 is to ensure. So for the explain, you have to explain the reasons on why you're using this kind of teaching strategy and kung unsa ang imong gi-expect nga ilang makatunan from the research. So for the spell out, the instructor must spell out their expectation and check the students whether they understand such things when they're doing the research, kung how much time will it take, kung unsa ang mga butang nga kailangan nila nga buhaton, and what do you expect whether they will be working in group or individual, and what you will be doing while they are engaging their research. And last is to ensure. You should ensure that the students have the necessary communication and social skills to work effectively together. Make sure na nagminaw sila all throughout the discussion and they have participated in order for them to learn and understand, so that if they would be going to conduct a research, they will be going to have a hint on how to conduct one. As a future educator, we must get the students enthusiastic about the prospect of doing something worthwhile. We must motivate them by showing the research that has been done by our previous students. So with this strategy, that students will get curious and motivated to conduct on their own research, because learning of these things makes them to think positive. Just like when I was in senior high school, our teacher used to share to us nga katong mga bugoy-bugoy last year, nag-conduct sila og culminating activity sa ilang lugar, and it became successful. That is why I am motivated to conduct on our research. So the students will need to work through the 8 distinct phases of the research activity, and they will have to: 1 is to clarify the purpose of the research, so that they will fully understand on why they are doing the research and what outcome they are supposed to achieve. 2 is to develop the research questions. 3 is to develop a research strategy. 4 is to filter, organize, analyze, and evaluate the information or data. 5 is to locate information or gather data that will be used to answer the research questions. 6 is to develop an answer to the research question. 7 is to report the results of the research in an appropriate way. And 8 is to evaluate the effectiveness of the research strategies, including the way the results were presented, so that they are better prepared for the next research project. So these are the minimum guidance if we want them to learn through research. So as a future educator, we must teach our students nga mangita sila og issue or problem that is very important to be investigated para pod nga masolusyonan ang kani nga issue or problem. 2 is the assistance with developing and or refining their research questions. So as a future educator, dapat natong tabangan ang atong students aron mas ma-develop ug mas ma-refine ang ilang mga research questions. So 3 is the suggestions about how they might get started and teach them on how to delegate tasks for each member of the group. So as a future educator, we must give our suggestions to our students para makahibaw sila unsaon pagsugod sa ilang research ug atuduan po nato sila unsaon pag-delegate sa task sa kada membro sa grupo. 4 is the assistance with developing a research plan. So as a future educator, dapat nato nga i-guide ug i-assist ang atong students para mas makahibaw sila kay if ever sila na ang maghimo og research plan in the future, they will be able to know on how to do it. So 5 is a clear time frame for the research. Set deadlines by which key parts of the research must be completed. So dapat nga mohatag ta og clear time frame sa research ug dapat pud nga mag-set or maghatag ta og deadline kung kanus dapat mahuman ang bawat part sa research. So 6 is some self-checking guidelines so that they can monitor their progress. 7 is the guidance on data gathering and data analysis. So 8 is the suggestions about the presentation of the research findings. Dapat na to i-insist sa ang mga students nga i-develop ang ilang research report as they gather information and interpret it rather than leaving it all until the research is complete. So 9 is the guidelines about the participation and collaboration so that they can effectively exchange information through reading, writing, speaking, and listening. And 10 is the details like a rubric to show the students on how their learning will be assessed. So structuring the learning experiences for students. When using student research as a teaching strategy, you will need to give students a clear information about what they are required to do and what your expectations are.
Lesson plan is a teacher's detailed description of the course or instruction for an individual lessons. A lesson plan is a written guide for trainers' plans in order to achieve the intended learning outcomes. It provides specific definitions and direction on learning objectives and requirements, instructional media, material requirements, and conduct of the training. Sa lesson plan, dinhi makabutang kung unsa ang goal sa teacher, kung unsa ang ijang gusto nga ma-achieve ana nga lesson. Dinhi ibutang ang kung unsa imong activity nga buhaton, kung pila ra ka oras ang imong kinahanglan para ana nga activity, and then kung unsa imong mga materials nga needed para sa ana nga activity nga imong buhaton. In creating a lesson plan or making a lesson plan, this should contain the following: student learning aims, instructional procedures, the required materials, some written description of how the students will be evaluated, and last, the time each activity will be take. Student learning aims mao na sidya ang imong gi-expect nga maantiguhan sa mga bata after nimo nagkandak sa lesson. After nimo nagtudlo sa lesson, anhan nimo mahibaw-an kung naminya ba jud ang mga bata. Next is instructional procedures. Mao ni ang mga pamaagi unsa imong i-instruct para nighimo sa imong activity. Next is the required materials. Kung mao ni siya kung unsa imong gamiton para kanang imong ipakita sa mga bata nga mas mainteresado sila sa imong lesson. And last, ang oras, kung unsa katas-a ang oras nga mag-conduct ka sa imong lesson, kay kung mas taas gani ang oras inig mag-lesson ka, mag-conduct ka sa lesson, kanang maboring ang mga bata, dali mawaag ilang attention kung mas taas ang oras nga mag-conduct ka sa lesson.